Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show. Today we're going to be all over the place, but I got two announcements I got to make. One is Yanni or Aramak. He did an exceptionally good job on displaying what a mimetic is or synthetic biology is. So if you haven't seen the video he's done, I encourage you to go do so. It's an amazing job he did. The imagery he used and the tech he did was just amazing. And he gives you a bird's eye view of this coronavirus. I have so many of you calling me every day on my email. What are you gonna do about the virus? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Oh man, we're gonna die. Oh. Look, it's not even a virus. Okay, it's not even a virus. It's a synthetic biology or artificial life. It is not. It's alive yet not alive. It's a mimetic. It's something that can mimic or resemble or reflect something else and have the appearance of that. And it was activated by 6G, not 5G. This is what's amazing too, that people still are thinking that China's on 5G, China's on 6G, and India's on 7G. It's amazing to me that people are still thinking that we're ahead. We're not ahead in the West. You know, the East is developing the technology that we are just going to inherit as a result of the investors doing the work over there. But this is why the FTC guy is saying we're not going to test the technology, because it's already been done. They already have had it going and used it. Now they're just bringing it over here. It's always been the case. We need to wake up on some things here. So we need to get a reality check. We are not as advanced as we think we are. Okay, just an FYI. The only reason the United States is still the superpower that it is because it's got some advanced weaponry and it's in over 70 countries. It's an empire. And as a result of its outreach, it has control of the wealth of other countries. That's why. Yeah. So wake up to these realities. Wake up. Not everything that we're seeing today is real. Okay, but what Yanni did there was excellent. Now, some of you may not be able to understand him too well because, he is Greek, but that's okay. Play it a couple of times. I understood it the first time when I'm at the training, so I'm used to accents. But, he did a great job. I thought he did a fantastic job. So go listen to it. Go watch it anyway. And the second thing I want to talk about is two of the leading researchers in nano outcry, warning people about the dangers of nanobiology, nanobiotech, nanoengineering, carbon nanotubes, single-wall carbon nanotubes, multi-wall carbon nanotubes, quantum dots, dendromeres, quantum, AI. Brian 396 and myself. Now, Brian 396 is not my sidekick. Contrary to what has been spoken of, he is one of the leading guys in this research and development. I happen to be the other guy with him on the research and development. And there are other people also doing it, but he's not my sidekick, nor am I his. We are two independent researchers that collaborate and exchange information on a regular basis and develop whatever we're developing to come up with solutions. There is no sidekick here. Two independent minds, two independent people decided to work together. That's what it is. A collaboration of two researchers doing the work. That's what we are. So I don't want anybody to diminish Brian in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I will take it one step further. He was the one guy, he was the guy actually, that came out with the nano outcry. He was the first one to do it. He told me about it later. And then I got involved. I've given my contributions, but he was the one that initiated the whole thing in regarding to finding out what it was going on, and what was happening. And so when he shared the information with me, I wasn't sure. I was skeptical, but I was open enough saying, let's take a look. Because at the time, before Brian and I got on the scene, Gwen Scott, who everybody else has also overlooked as a key player here, was the one that called it a pseudo-life form in artificial life. And she was the one that tried to, again, give the outcry. And they called it Morgellons at the time because they didn't know what the hell to call it. They didn't know what it was. Brian was the one that discovered it was the nano frequency connection. Okay, I'm the one that came up with the connections and how to, certain chemicals, certain things, vitamins, nutrients, devices. Brian has developed his own devices. We have developed our own research, and as I said, we have collaborated. So I want to make that loud and clear. I'm not going to take anybody's thunder. That's his thunder, period. He's not my sidekick, not his. Okay, but we are independent researchers collaborating and exchanging. We've been doing this for almost 12 years, I think. I think it's around 12 years. Maybe I'm wrong. He's more concise with the time. I'm lost in time most of the time. But anyway, I wanted to point this out so that nobody in any way diminishes his contribution. If it wasn't for him, I would not have gotten involved. And I'm not bullshitting there either. So, he got me in it. I always connect, I've often said to Brian, it seems like, when he called me, if he had called me a week or two earlier, I wouldn't have believed him. Because I was still working on something else, dealing with what I thought was Lyme disease at the time. I knew, and after 2 more weeks of doing what I was doing, I had already come to the conclusion that what we had going on was not normal, was alien in nature. It wasn't really the status quo. It wasn't anything that could be normally taken out with alternatives. I used enough alternative remedies would have knocked out a bull rhinoceros. Didn't touch this thing. So I knew that something was uniquely different about whatever was going on, and I had no idea what it was. So out of the blue, he calls me. He got a hold of me. Got a friend of his who watched one of my YouTube channels. Got a hold of him. He calls me up. No hi, no nothing. Hey, bud, it's Nano. Just like that. And like I said, I'm used to that kind of stuff because I'm the same way sometimes. I said, bud, I don't know what it is. I don't think you do either. But I'm willing to listen to this because everything that I have come to the conclusion on. I don't know. This is something completely different, something we've never been exposed to before. And from that point on, 15, 17 hours a day, back and forth on the phone. I'd find something, he'd find something, or we were on Skype or whatever. So, and that hasn't changed. We're still doing the research. We're more. How would you put it? More in depth in it today. And we've branched off in different vectors of this research. I go into my certain vectors, he goes into his, and we still collaborate and exchange. I've also been exchanging with people in Europe and other parts of the world, sharing the information. And so there's a lot more people that have gotten involved as far as sharing. A lot of people are also emailing me now with what they're finding on this subject matter, and how much bullshit really we have been bullshitted out of our shorts. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The amount of the complete derailing of us, it's just unbelievable. I was thinking, before the show, those of us from the 50s and 60s, I think I talked about this on the last show. When it seemed to come to our time to get our kick at the can, those opportunities that were meant for us were always taken away, always. And we had to forge on new opportunities or whatever. Then I think about the millennials. I mean, these people, God Almighty, they're going to be smoked. Smoked. And the only thing that we can offer them, if they'll listen, is the wisdom and the experiences that we've had, and to show them the truth about being on shithole planet Earth, because that's what they've turned it into, is a shithole. And if they would listen to the wisdom and experiences so that they don't fall into the same traps, or even to guide them in the right direction, because since we've all went in the wrong direction, we know this is not the way to go. And I would, to the millennials that do listen to me, or have listened to the show, this is what I would encourage you to do today. You ain't got time, unless you're going to go into some kind of tech field, telecommunications, artificial intelligence, nanobiology, nanotechnology, frequency technologies, something of that nature. If you have no intention of doing that at this point in time, and if you're young, say 13 years old, get a job, learn about money, learn how money can make you money, and the first thing I would tell you to do is put God in your life as number one. Without question. Without question. I've often said many a time, if God is not the center of the equation, you've got no equation. And I'll tell you another reason why. Because if you start making big money, and you don't know how to handle what's going on, and you get caught up on the vices of big money, it will burn you like the fires of hell. And so unless you have God in the equation to keep you level-headed and contained and disciplined, you'll lose it. You'll lose it as fast as you make it. So, and then when you get done in 10 years and you become a millionaire, because that's the objective at this stage, then you can pursue whatever educational course you want to and pay it cash. If you want to take those investments and further invest money in real estate or other things, you are now able to do so. If you want to be able to travel, now you have the freedom to do so. See, this is the ass-backwards situation they got us into and our parents. You're going to go to work every day. You're going to go to a job that may now not be here in the future. This is another reason why you want to start thinking in this way. So as a result, you're going to go to a job and you're going to work and make some corporation rich for the next 30 to 40 years of your life. And then you're going to retire. By the time you retire, you're too broken down, too beat up, too pounded to have any joy left to live for. Because you've given your strength to a corporation that has bled you down. So the actual thing we should be looking at is prosperity and health. They go hand in hand. But if you're just going to be a slave all your life, all you're going to wind up in the end is broken and broke and broke. Because what happens at the end, this is what they don't tell you at the end of the rainbow. You know, oh, we're at the end of the rainbow, we're going to have a pot of gold. Yeah, there may be a pot of gold, but the government ain't going to let you have it. Corporations are not going to let you have it. Your pensions will maybe subject to being not given anymore. And they may put a stipulation on your money that if you do not get vaccinated, you do not get marked, then you may not be able to get your money. This is a reality. Australia is already talking about that there. And I have also figured something else out. Just again, this is sort of off tangent. The coronavirus was thrown out there, and they propagated so much bullshit on it. You know, came from snakes, came from bats, came from a lab in Canada, came from a lab in America. Now the latest thing I heard is now that they found that the Brits in the United Kingdom developed the coronavirus as a weapon and turned it on the Asians, because again it was it was a genetically engineered pathology. And now China's demanding $1 trillion for every person that died. This is the latest thing going on. This is why the reason I'm saying this, so you don't, because you get caught up with so much of the dramatizations that they're putting out there. It's a complete distraction, and it's taken everybody away from actually investigating, was it a real virus? These guys are saying, oh, they went over to China and Japan and they gave people 25,000, 35,000, IUs of vitamin C and it cured their pneumonia. That's not the coronavirus, that's pneumonia. Okay. The people that dropped dead didn't drop dead because they had pneumonia, they had something else. But again, it's going on and on and on. The misleading and the misconceptions that are happening. So I'm trying to express this to you so that you don't have any illusions. This life is a stage, and it's a stage of deception. And if you follow the plot, you'll get sucked into the drama, and before you know it, life's over. So this is why I'm encouraging those millennials who do have eyes to see and ears to hear, pay attention. Pay attention. We got a generation prior to me that have gotten their benefits. Our generation, those of us who are coming to that point in time where it's our turn again to get a kick at the can, we will see them screw us one more time. Just watch. So anyway, with the coronavirus, this may be an excuse for them to take away cash. Because like I said, they want 60% of the world population infected with this coronavirus. Okay, it's not an epidemic. It's still not an epidemic, and I don't believe the numbers are telling us either. I think that's all bullshit too. But the numbers are still so small. Was it 80,000 out of 7 billion? I think there's more people that died of the regular flu than this thing. Anyway, money would spread it. Everybody handles money. So they'll come up with some legislation to take away all your cash. The right to have cash. You watch. Some bullshit like that. And all you need to do, if it is a virus, all you would need to really do is take your money, put it under UV light, and it would kill whatever's there. That's all you need to do. So, again, you watch. There'll be something of this nature coming up because it is our turn to get a kick at the can. Just you watch. Something to that nature. We are in fun times. Some of us call it the end times. Some of us call it the restart or the reboot. Whatever you want to call it, this is the end of an era. And, okay, as a believer in the biblical truth, when the Bible says we're going to be like the days of Noah, and I've said this before, we need to start thinking like Noah did. Getting ready, being prepared. A flood is coming and we better have an ark. That's how I think. Some people believe in this rapture thing. That's fine if that's what you really believe in. And they base it on a scriptural reference. One is taken, one is left behind. Well, the concept of one is taken can also be interpreted as one was taken out and killed, and one was left behind to stay as a slave. That's another way of looking at this thing too. So like I said, either way, it seems to me, one way or another, Jesus said, "You endures to the end." There's a lot of verses referring to that too. Would be saved. So my concept on this one is, since we really don't know, and there's no clear-cut anything here as far as where everybody stands as far as the faith goes, it just seems to me, cover all bases, be ready. If there is no rapture and you've been waiting for it, you're going to be sadly disappointed, and a lot of you are going to say, "Chuck you Farley," and you're done. Those of us who are preparing for the long trip and a rapture does come, we're going to say, "Thank God we don't have to go through that crap." Either way, it's a win-win. Be ready, and if you're ready, it happens. So that's my thinking. But anyway, getting ready also implies this, because Jesus said when he comes back, will he find faith on earth? And if he doesn't come back, no flesh would be saved. I mean, that includes everything: whales, dolphins, sharks, turtles, fish, starfish, octopus, rhinoceroses, giraffes, lions and tigers, monkeys, bears, antelope, cantaloupe, deer, moose, dogs, cats, your pets, us, gone. Because this planet, basically, the god of this planet is money. And Lucifer rules that too. And everything has been done in the name of jobs. Jobs and money. Money and jobs. And the earth, poor earth, has been getting popped for it. No balance, no rhyme, no reason. Just destroy the earth. And I always make references to the vegans, how they contribute to the destruction of this planet by eating their little tofu, wiping out trees and acres of trees, which, by the way, provide a whole ecosystem for the woods and the forests, provide a whole ecosystem for us so we can breathe. And so they can grow their tofu and their miso and all that shit and spray all kinds of glyphosates, and because there is no organic, and anyone who still thinks that, seriously give your head a shake. Pound it against the wall a couple of times. Maybe you'll knock some sense into it. Take a look above you. If that can come down on the earth, you have no organics. And guess what? The European Union's Health Division said the same thing. So get over your illusions. Okay, the earth is dying. And I'm not blaming millennials either. I'm just saying they're contributing. And you don't, not millennials, sorry, vegans. Vegan, unless you're a millennial vegan. Vegans are contributing. We need to wake up on these things. We need to see the balance of everything. We don't see it because we're chasing the dollar and because of job. And I get that. And I get we're in the system, we have to comply to it to some level. But we need to have developed prosperity and wealth, not slavery. And we need to wake up on certain things. And one of those things we need to wake up on is how we're being taken apart through nanotechnology, nanobiology, nanobiotech, synthetic biology, mimetics, artificial life. Have any of you actually read any of these things? You know, some people crack me up. They send me an email. Tony, what are you going to do about the coronavirus? Nothing. Aren't you afraid? No. It's not a virus. So I sent them to Yanni's video so they could watch it. I don't think I registered for some of them. But anyway, that's to be expected too. When we see these things happening, and I've said this on many podcasts prior, you need to realize that what's at stake here is your mitochondria, your DNA, genetic code, your chromosomes, your ATP production, your enzyme production, organ safety, all these things have to, you have to got to start thinking. And you got to start thinking that what you are exposed to environmentally is going to affect and impact your health totally. So if you're in an area, for instance, and you're being hit with a boatload of frequencies. You got towers 3 blocks from you, a block from you, across the street from you. You got smart meters. You got cell phones. You got iPads. You got smart TVs. You got smart washer and dryers. You got smart radios, smart stereo systems. You got cars that have the smart in them. You got cars now that are beaming microwave radiation to your body so they can communicate with the chips in your car. This is what they call an epigenetic or epigenome effect on your biology. Environmental poisons or things in the environment that can affect the genetic code. That's what epigenetics means. So when we're in an environment, for instance, and you're out farming, and you're spraying glyphosates on the corn and the soy and the wheat and the oat and the barley and all the fruit trees and everything else that's grown on the vegetables. That environment has now become lethal to you because of what you put into the environment that doesn't work with you and is actually can corrupt your genetic code. That happened with a farmer or somebody that was working with the chemicals of glyphosates and wound up with a $420 million lawsuit that he won against Bayer Monsanto. So when we're out in an area, for instance, where we're by a factory, and the factory's emitting all kinds of exhaust fumes and dumping all kinds of shit in the air, that too is going to affect your genetic code. It's going to affect the way your brain thinks. It's going to affect the way your emotional balance and well-being. It's going to impact your brain chemistry, the physiology. Okay, this is an environmental assault again against you because we're out there to make money, and God is money and jobs and jobs. Oh, we got jobs and we got more jobs, money, jobs. That's all you hear. Have you ever heard the political corporation? Because America is a corporation. Have you ever, or so is Canada? Have you ever heard the political corporation enforce the other corporations to clean their shit up? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever seen that? No. And what happens? The epigenetics of that area become more corrupt and more contemptible, more contaminable. Moms born in those, moms to be or moms in those areas that give birth wind up with children who have brain defects, birth defects, mutations, because of the exposure to those environmental toxins that these corporations have put out there. Do they clean them up? Rarely. And if they do, it's half-assed. Cheap as they can get it done. Yet, over decades and decades and decades, they have made millions and billions of dollars, and maybe even now trillions. And yet they don't have a dime to clean up the environment. Can you imagine that? Imagine that. So, that's one of the ways we prepare in building our ark. We understand where we live, and then we take the directive in what to do in order to protect our health. Okay, we're in an area where we're getting hit with terahertz frequencies. Terahertz frequencies. And we start looking at what terahertz frequencies can do to you. How it can cause DNA damage, strand breakage, how it can cause skin damage, without showing any outward signs that the damage has been done. How it can cause organ damage, how it can utilize the hydrogen in your body to create a superconductive effect of that frequency. See, what makes that frequency so dangerous is it can damage you, and as it's coming out of you, it can actually repair the damage or some of the damage. But the internal damage goes unnoticed because the topical damage has been repaired. But this is the reality of where we're living in today. So you got to understand, what do I do to block terahertz? Don't allow exposure. Have some deflective material that will deflect terahertz frequencies. One of the things that can do that is brass. You might want to wear brass mesh or make a brass covering over your head. Again, mitigate any effect that might be coming down directly from the towers. You might want to ground your home. You might want to put shielding in your home, whether it be aluminum shielding, whether you want to put lead paint, copper and aluminum paint, that deflective paint that they're selling today, which is like $300 for a quart. It's super expensive. But these are some of the things that you can do to mitigate being exposed to those frequencies. You might want to put like a copper coating over your glass, your windows. You might want to run a connection to the glass to the ground. You might want to put something on the ceiling. You might want to run inside the house something that's going to create a toroidal field. You might want to start even changing the diet. You might need to do more detoxification. You may need to understand the nature of using frequencies to shut frequencies. See, everything is a frequency. Terahertz is on the high end of the frequency range as well. And it's also on the high end of light. It's photonic and magnetic. What a combination. Terahertz is both photonic and magnetic. Talk about doing a screw job on you if it hits you. Anyway, when we're looking at these kind of things that are going to impact your life, and the things you're eating that may be saturating yourself with more titanium, more barium, more aluminum, more strontium, more lithium, more carbon, like carbon C60, carbon C70, carbon C50. You might want to start thinking, what am I to do about it? How do I, first things first, create the shielding. Secondly, create the means to extract these particles out of your body, whether you're using a bucket, a triangle, whether you're using some sort of EMP pulse, PMF pulse, whether you're in an area where you got toroidal fields blowing around you so that it can basically disengage the programming. These are some of the things you got to start thinking. Go to my BitChute channel if you haven't been there. It will be on the main page. Check the BitChute channel. There's a tech channel there where I show people how to build a lot of the tech that they need to help offset and mitigate some of the assault. When you're eating, again, what are you eating? Are you eating a high sugar diet? You know, the eulogies in some churches are ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Ashes have to do with carbon. When you burn trees, leaves an ash, that's carbon. And dust happens to be silica. We have two of the most conductive components in our bodies, silica and carbon. And yet, you can't consume them, because if you consume them, they actually break the body down. Now, how interesting that is. We were talking about that earlier today, about how when you eat sugar, any kind of sugar, you eat any kind of sugar, and your body will start to break down. And if you prolong the amount of sugar that you're consuming, it starts to break down the pancreas, it starts breaking down the stomach, starts breaking down the colon, starts breaking down the liver, starts breaking down the skeletal structure. If we were a carbon-based life form, like they said, any sugar that we would consume would actually benefit us, strengthen us, and recharge us. But instead, it shuts us down. Body does use sugar, and you should be getting about 50 grams a day, minimum, depending on what you're doing. If you're working a physical job, you may need a little bit more, but you also need more protein. Now, this is the interesting thing about protein. Animal proteins, not the vegetation stuff, not the nuts and the seeds and the goofy whatever they're trying to sell today as protein, which is really something else. But they're using collagen, but they're using gelatin, whether they're using chicken gelatin, fish gelatin, whether they're using whey, whether they're using unpasteurized milk. These are proteins that are all initiate what they call a state of anabolism, or an anabolic effect, which means you are growing. Anabolism means that you're in muscle growth. What is it? Oh, hell, I lost the word now. There's anabolic, catabolic. If you're in a catabolic state, it means you're in muscle breakdown. Wear and tear, muscle is going. So you want to stay in this, you want to be able to sustain the area of being in an anabolic state where your muscles are growing, your body's regenerating. Well, guess what? The best regenerators that you can consume are meat-based. Not the soy, not the miso, not the tofu. Tofu. Sounds like a laser weapon. Tofu. Sure, some vegans crying because I said it that way. Tofu. Oh. Like I said, I forgot. I got to make a comment about that too. I had a couple of people comment to me on the email. One guy was driving and he was listening to the show. We heard the part about me saying, save the bullet, save the gun, just give him some tofu. He just about died laughing. Another guy wrote me and said the same thing. They heard me make the comments. Well, I kept saying, well, bullets are expensive. Tofu's cheap, just give them tofu. They want to eat it anyway, so let them die. More for me. I get more cows, more meat, more milk. Tofu. Anyway, these are the things we need to start to think in regard to being in a state of anabolic growth, or anabolic repair, or regenerative repair. Our body's under such an assault today. See, 100 years ago, we could have eaten white sugar, and even with its cocaine-like effects, and not have had the impact that it has today. Because today, we are no longer dealing with one issue. And so when we start talking about even research 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago, 110, 150. Some of it may apply, most of it won't. They weren't exposed to frequencies, morning, noon, and night. They didn't have a smart meter attached to their backside, to their house. They didn't have cell phones they couldn't leave alone. They couldn't put down on the table because they'd have this withdrawal effect right away. Oh, like that phone has now become your baby, and it's attached, it's attached to your hand like an umbilical cord. I can't put my baby down and won't let go. It attached to my DNA. Oh, look, vegan's got one too, and it's pumping tofu into his into his DNA or her DNA. Tofu. We weren't exposed to antennas, AM and FM, and radio frequencies, and ELF frequencies, and cell tower frequencies, and they didn't have these high set settings on these frequencies. They weren't being exposed to chemtrails either, which chemtrails can be manipulated by frequencies. And guess what? When you consume them, so can you. Oh, so-and-so's DNA is on our chart. Hey, let's see if we can create a pathology inside of her or him, and let's see if we can make them sick with, monkey virus. Whoa, look, they got the monkey virus. Oh, we just hit a button and look at them. They're just crawling on the floor, dying. We did a show a while ago that your electronic devices can now infect you with whatever the designer pathology that they have for today. Imagine that. Imagine that, eh? We want 60 million people loaded with the coronavirus by the end of summer. Wow. Everyone's got a cell phone. Let's just activate their DNA. When they hold the cell phone, the DNA gets activated right away, and we can now, through the cell phone, inject a frequency that can activate these pathologies. And then people are sick for 3 weeks, sore throat, can't breathe, coughing all the time, they're having severe body aches, and then they run to the doctor. Doctor, you got coronavirus. Here's a Corona beer. Have another. And that kind of thing, That's how it's manipulated. Bing, bing, bing. And then you run to the doctor, and the doctor gives you a drug, and the drugs have all kinds of, nanocontaminants, which then get released into the bloodstream, which get released into the organs and the tissues. And now a frequency hits and activates those particles so they can now follow their paradigm, their program. That's where we're at today. That's the life we live. That's what I'm saying, that when we're talking about the days of Noah and being prepared, okay, Jesus coming back and saying, will you find faith on earth? That's a heavy implication that we might all be gone or assimilated. That's a possibility. So the only way that we can have that meeting place with him is if we work at saving even a remnant. Learning how to defend against these frequencies, learning how to extract out of the body these nanoparticulates, learning how to cook, learning how to grow things indoors, learning how to raise fish and chickens and ducks and things of this nature. So even if you don't want to eat the animal, you can eat the egg. And as far as dairy goes, if you can get a goat or a sheep, milk them. I know some of you are all against milk. Oh, the only people in the world, the only species in the world that drinks milk is people. Let me inform you all of something about milk. Some of you may not be aware of this. But people with the highest IQ drank milk. Did you know that? And that can be statistically proven. You can look that up yourself. But milk drinkers always had the higher IQ. Why is that? If milk was so bad, if milk was so terrible, then they would have had a negative effect on their mental capacity, don't you think? Isn't that something? And that was discovered a long time ago. Now, the stuff in the store is not the milk you should be drinking. The yogurt you can use, provided it has fat, because they do replace it with bacteria. But the milk you should be drinking should be coming out of a cow, out of its tit, into a jug, into a mug, into a cup, into your mug, and you drink it down. That's the milk you should be drinking. That's the one that fortifies, builds, and strengthens. That's the one that gives you a brain. Wow, gives you a brain. We should be giving it to everybody. Have a drink. Forget it. Just inject it directly into your vein. That'll get their brain a lot faster. So when I hear some of the ridiculous stupidity that I hear today from some of these goofy-ass gurus with their idea of health. They're not, and most of them don't live very long. A lot of them are dying when they're on the stages doing whatever. It's amazing to see some of this crap I hear. You know, I'm going to tell this another way. Those of us who are of European descent, let me remind you, we never ate tofu. We never ate edamame. We never ate miso. And shit, we lived how long? And how many centuries have we been around eating meat, milk, consuming dairy products like cheeses? All health foods in their own right. Except within the last 67 years it became a demonic thing. Oh no, that's a demon, don't eat that. Oh, and then they violated it with the pasteurization and all the other stuff. That's what I'm saying. That stuff in the store is not. If you can find a farmer who's got cows that can milk, by all means, give it a tug, put it in a jug, down it in your mug. Seriously, that's what you should be doing. Once you start drinking that, oh man, I'm telling you, put an egg in there, blend it up, add a little vanilla to it, a little cinnamon, ho, ho, ho. Nutmeg, you got eggnog. And somebody says, oh, we're going to worry about our cholesterol. What about, that's another retard thing. Totally retarded. Worried about your cholesterol. If I guess God didn't know what he was doing when he put cholesterol inside of all of us, right? Oh no. God messed up. Unreal. Okay, be prepared. Be prepared, you know. Start thinking in terms of what you're eating. Saturated fat should be on the diet big time. Yeah, and this is another thing. Oh, this is what cracks me up. Okay, the 50s and 60s are saying that, you know, saturated fat was bad for you, blah, blah, blah. And I get people telling me, well, there were doctors in that day that were curing this and curing that. And I said there was also doctors in that day that were propagating saturated fat, eating animal proteins, eggs, dairy, cream, and he too was fixing something. The first guy that talked about a keto diet was Atkins. Remember Atkins? That was a keto diet. Nothing different between the two really, except one may allow more carbs in the diet, but that's basically the difference. And yet, this guy was curing people from pancreatitis. He's curing them from diabetes. He's curing them from, you know, all kinds of autoimmune disorders. He was basically bringing them back by just giving them milk, dairy, cheese, eggs, fat. So, your fats are going to be important, and it's not the omega-3 you should be consuming. Those omega-3s will break you down on the cellular level. They're garbage, they're rancid, they're oxidized, they're not fit for pigs, and they're selling them in the stores today. And they've been tested in 16 countries, and not one was found in the 16 countries. No matter what the braggadocio that they've been, oh, ours is the best, and it's filtered, and, you know, it's pressed, and it's been filtered, blah, it's the best, blessed. No matter what nonsense they're propagating about it, it's still a destructor of the cellular matrix. So any kind of saturated fat, omega-6s, limited. The omega-6s is what we need as well. There's been, I get in some debates with some people that say you shouldn't be eating that either. I says, well, you need some. Your body does have it. Your body's composition is composed of it, so you do need some. I always say if you're going to eat any of these fats, even the saturated fats, add antioxidants with them, like essential oils, vitamin E, vitamin A, CQ10, BHT, rosemary essential oil, sage essential oil, thyme, marjoram. These will keep those fats from breaking down in the body. They're not rancid to begin with. They're still good, so they won't have the same effect as an omega-3. Omega-3s, man, they're not. You know what they used to use flaxseed oil for? Rancid flaxseed oil used to be used as a wood stain. They called it linseed oil. Remember that? Linseed oil. That's flaxseed oil. The stuff that they're selling in the health food store and in the grocery store is being sold in the hardware store as a wood stain. As a wood stain. Imagine that. What's that? It's a penetrant. Oh boy. So, like I said, weigh the facts. Understand what you're being exposed to. You know, It's really important that you understand it. Okay, on the tonight's show on the links, you're going to see pictures of a mimetic or synthetic life. You're going to see how silica, look, this cardinal virus looks like mesoporous silica, nanosilica. Wow. See, if you read the research on nanotechnology and nanobiology, 4 or 5 years ago they had combined copper with, they combined carbon with silica. Carbon and silica have the same exact properties, except one is organic, one's inorganic. So they combine an inorganic with an organic, and they produce a synthetic life, an artificial life. You can look it up. You can look it up. Now, guess what? They've created an anomaly in China. They released it, and that was, again, that's the prototype. That's the prototype. When I tell you guys to use like the chlorides, I say that for a reason. Copper chloride, zinc chloride, potassium chloride, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, any kind of chloride you can get into or make that can benefit the body will go a long way in protecting you. You want to use the MMS, by all means. People come and ask me if it's okay to use it. I say, sure, use it, but I would also tell you to use iodine with that at separate times. Iodine is another one. Copper is another one. You've got things you can take to fortify your body. Taking high doses of vitamin C. Taking high doses of ginseng. Don't take them at the same time. They neutralize each other. But there are things you can do to fortify your body. Eating foods that have high levels of quercetin. Eating foods that have high levels of cysteine, which would be garlic. Another one I heard. Oh, you shouldn't eat garlic because it's an antibiotic. Garlic is not an antibiotic. Period. It's a food. It's a food that has antibiotic properties, but it's not the only property that it has. And the antibiotic property in garlic is balanced out by the other properties in garlic with it. So when you consume it, you're not going to have necessarily an antibiotic effect, but what you might have a cleansing effect in regarding to the cysteine that's in there that remove heavy toxins and loads out of the colon and the pancreas and the liver. All from a garlic. But they say you shouldn't eat that. I'm Mediterranean. We eat it all the time. I'm still waiting for the wonderful side effects that they've been See, this is the problem. We get people from outside. They know that the West is stupid, so they come in here and propagate some horse hockey religious donkey thing, that makes them look like they're something special. They're spiritual. They're holy, or whatever bullshit title they have. And all they are is con men dressed in whatever attire they are, pretending to be some kind of guru or some kind of whatever, and then they sell you on some sort of ridiculous idea about whatever, and they tell you stuff like, oh, you should eat garlic every day. Did you know if you ferment garlic and vinegar for about 6 or 7 months, it also produces a high quality polyphenol? And they say that polyphenol has the same strength properties as vitamin C. Imagine that. So you can take some vitamin C with that garlic, and guess what? You have a super powerful antioxidant properties going on in your system. Just from garlic and vitamin C. Now don't go getting orange juice because that's a waste of time. There's not enough vitamin C to go around your belly button. They have to add it to it because they cook the heck out of it. So once they heat the fruit, the vitamin C goes. You can buy vitamin C in powder form. You can order it, get it. But don't dwell on, I'm going to get a juice and drink it because even in an orange, one orange only has 50 milligrams of vitamin C. Same with the grapefruit, lemon, clementine. So how much of that would you have to take to get 5 grams a day? You'll be there all day, either on the toilet or in the kitchen, trying to peel these things. So use a little common sense. And then the self-preservation of nanosilica. Oh, you'll see nano protect itself. Go look at the link. It's going to be interesting. And then we're going to have another picture of a mesoporous virus, a synthetic pathogen. Another image of this. With a little bit of a write-up. Then we're going to be dealing with, where are we here? Another view of Corona, not beer. Oh, I got to tell you this, I almost forgot. The Italian government is sacking the health expert board, and they're stopping the vaccination programs. They said, I don't know what they said, probably they spoke Italian, and they probably were using a lot of words. Some of them Canadian, I'm sure. Imagine, you gotta read this. This is cool. They basically said, Chuck U. Farley, they started listening to the reports that were made by their own Italian scientists. I wish our government would do the same thing. A scientist that finds a problem with the vaccine says, hey, what is this doing in the vaccines? Instead of trying to kill the guy or trying to shut him down or take away his license to practice. I don't know why they don't listen to some of these guys. They should be listening to this. They should be watching this. And then we got 1,200 studies on vaccines. That's at the bottom. So tonight you're going to have a pretty decent show. If you haven't seen Aramac's little presentation, I would definitely encourage you to go see it. The link's on here as well. Basically, it's youtube.com/watch !V equals STHDOMDAUTE at feature, and feature equals YouTube. I think if you just type in the last, just type in virus, that's the name of it, virus. So type it in there. You got Aramac, he's got a bunch of channels. He's got his blog network, he's got his YouTube channel. He's got this that just came out, so go ahead and watch it, and be encouraged by it. And then you got Brian396, with all the stuff that he's been doing, all the stuff he's got on the page. I got a couple links here for you. You got the Nano Gallery, you got the Nano Biotech, you got the Nano Research, or Nanotech Research with Patreon. So you got a bunch of places where you can find Brian. You can see he's been a busy man. Couldn't have been busy if he was a sidekick. But he is independent. You can see it. All right, so check out all of these things. Help out these guys. I always talk about sharing. Whatever you can is a donation with these guys, with Aramac or Yanni, Brian 369. Help them out any way you can. Want to help me out? That's fine too. We can always use a little help. Again, check out the sites. I got an augmented site, a YouTube site. It's all there. It's all on that page. Feel free to go there. And as I stated before, if you don't have anything, you're broke, that's understandable. Trying to get on your feet, that's understandable. Benefit from these videos, benefit from these pods. Share them with anybody you can, anybody that's willing to be open. Always remember, he who has eyes to see, let them see. He who has ears to hear, let them hear. And the rest, they can, let them be. Let the pain begin, and to show them the error of their ways. That's all I got to say. Alrighty, so I think we got the show going. I think we got a pretty decent show. Alright, till the next segment, to your health. Take care.